It's such a beautiful day.
I knew you were going to say that.
Cheap. Well, actually, you know what? I'm glad because you know what the name of the movie is.
Yeah.
Because there was a period of time.
How that line was delivered in the movie.
Wait,
so that means I watched it.
It's a little concerning to me.
Wait, did you?
Yeah.
Did he not? Did you forget?
He typed it wrong in the fucking description of Angel's ovaries.
Wait, what did I say?
You said "beautiful life" in the description.
It's a beautiful life.
I fucked it up.
That's where Bill.
I guess you were thinking of that Holocaust movie with the Italians.
I would have thought.
No.
I would have thought of the Christmas film. It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope
where Bill
hope
jumps
you guys
off a
watched
bridge and
It's
dies.
Such a Beautiful Day by Don Hertzfeldt in 2012.
That's like the best non-Evangelion thing ever made.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's my personal favorite animated thing, but it's high up there now. And it's more than animation, I think. It's a lot of multimedia stuff, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Well, yeah, there's
there's
photographs and real life footage.
Oh, yeah. So it's not purely animation,
And
but like artistically, it's all just amazing.
It frequently dips into like abstract film territory with the sort of just textures on the screen instead of concrete images. But
yeah, I really like how a lot of the animation was in this white blob with black space covering it.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Well, it adds to the theme of
it
him
just
not remembering, because it's like I only remember the space that's around myself.
Yeah. Well, and then you're able to have things where, there's a cacophony of things happening, and sometimes you're familiar with them, and sometimes it's like a cacophony of novel things that you haven't seen before happening all at once, and it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's really precise and varied in the way in its presentation.
Dunk, you said this was it's technically just 3 short films put into a movie. And what I thought that meant was they were all going to be completely unrelated.
Oh,
I
no.
did not realize it was going to be Bill all the way through.
It was a long saga, and I actually didn't find out until this time that I watched it that it was like this film took like 6 years, like more than 6 years, because it was like the first one came out in 2006, and it goes by so quick, and you watch it so easily. Like even though it's so heavy, to me it's always been really easily digestible because it's
not for me.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, I was a very different circumstance watching this because I had a lot of heavy personal shit happen literally like an hour before I watched. And I was like, you
probably shouldn't watch the movie. And
I shouldn't watch this movie. And then I did, and I cried for 3/4 of it.
And then you watched End of Ava right after, and then you played Silent Hill 2. And then
if I watched End of Ava right after, I probably would have killed myself, honestly.
Well, you're not that stupid, thankfully.
I'm not that stupid.
Well, you wouldn't have killed yourself. The image of Ray would have come down and touched you, and you would have turned into orange Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it would have been non-consensual death.
That would be rad. I wish I could die that way. Anyway,
being touched by a 14-year-old.
Yeah, that's Dunk's every hope and dream.
Anyways. I think the best way is to not respond to that allegation.
You just try and like.
All right, let me just cut the wire right now. I couldn't get it.
From accidental pedophilia.
Snip.
Yeah.
You're not getting invited to the island.
That's fine. You guys can't keep it locked down anymore anyway.
Oh, I can.
Word keeps getting out. Everybody keeps taking drone images of the temple. You guys really fucking.
So this guy Bill, he's fucked.
Oh yeah, he's having a rough time.
He's having a brain tumor on the left side of his brain. That's not fun.
I love how this movie starts, and it's like you're like, oh my god, what is this fucking cringeworthy YouTube shit?
Yeah,
where it's just
So here's how it was for me, right? I tried a million ways to watch this movie, and I'm broke, so I couldn't buy it on Vimeo. But when I can, I will. It's great. But I tried a million ways, and there was this one streaming site where it started with like a few minutes of the trees rustling,
which is the beginning of the movie. Yes.
And then since it buffered so fucking much, I could only watch like the first few minutes where Bill was like in the supermarket and shit.
Yeah.
And I figured the whole movie was gonna be this.
Was
Bill
going to be like
Burns
the
as-
oatmeal post from 2005. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's just Bill's trip to the
But
supermarket.
it got so much fucking deeper and more fucked up than that. It's like.
But I love that it starts that way because it's like really throws you off guard. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how this movie was made. Like, if Don Hertzfeldt I have a feeling that he definitely had it all figured. At least the first short figured out. Like when he started making it. Like he didn't just make this off the cuff.
there's no way.
Yeah.
You typically
Unless it was like-
make something like this just kind of off the cuff.
Well, no, exactly. But what I was thinking at first was, oh, he must have started with this sort of like, oh, Bill's going to the supermarket,
No,
overthinking
no.
a lot of things, and then going.
That's
towards
just-
the deep.
That's just the deceptive upper layer that corrodes away.
Oh yeah.
Bill probably didn't even
it's-
go to the supermarket that day.
It's a really great like depiction of the mundane because we're dealing with a character that has the peculiar duality of remembering nothing and being also incredibly bored with all of existence. So it's like you would think that normally in order to be bored with existence you have to remember how many times you've done the same thing over and over and over again. But it's like we're in kind of a weird situation where that's not necessarily the case. And to demonstrate the mundanity, it's a really good idea to just have essentially the same face with different hair and body type sizes, and everything's
Right.
just basic kind of lines on paper.
Yeah, I think
And then like throughout the movie, the way I mean, all the different effects are really good at conveying the deconstruction of that. But my favorite is when there's like subtle like crinkles on the paper itself and like texture,
Oh, yeah.
like literally textures on the canvas of the animation.
I think my favorite
definitely
was
didn't
when
notice that
near the latter half of the film, well, latter third really, when Bill just suddenly becomes so much more enamored with his surroundings.
Yeah.
And when the animation is integrated into like live action footage,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sick.
representing a kind of
I
shift
liked
in the way that he perceived the environment around him, but the people were still kind of the same. And there's that one shot where it's like the people, there's normal like human people walking, and then there's like his animated drawings, and they're sort of blended together,
Hmm.
implying
Yeah.
that, you know, this is just the way that he sees the world, like what you were saying.
Right. And the part I really like about the movie is the audio design when he's talking to, I think, his doctor, and he's pretty much like diagnosing him with whatever it is he has, and just like all these fucking noises just keep coming together in his head and stuff, and it just completely overpowers whatever the narrator's saying about what Bill has.
Yeah. I mean, there's
stuff like that.
Something I was going to say about this movie is that usually when we do a movie, there's like one or two moments that I find particularly brilliant little expressions of the point that I get obsessed with and talk about. But it's like this is a film composed entirely of those moments, which is why I
Yeah.
love it so much and why it's kind of hard to it's hard to talk about it and it's hard to not talk about it at the same time, if that makes sense, because it's like there's just so many little
just keeps
strokes of
forgetting.
brilliance
Just
all
keeps-
over the
Oh, yeah.
place. Yeah, I do forget too.
Well, I guess that
Um,
means you're gonna die underneath the tree.
I don't know if Bill actually is sick. I don't know if
You don't think
that's
so?
I think it's up
Like
for
game
debate.
theory?
You think it's
Like, I
psycho-
think-
do you think it's psychosomatic, like it was kind of self-imposed?
Not necessarily. I guess what I'm saying is that like I think you could make the case that the entire situation of being in a cycle of forgetting and remembering and hating and then being infatuated with existing, you could kind of just argue that that's existence in a cycle. And my biggest argument for this would be that he supposedly dies underneath the same trees that the film opens on. and that's just sort of never. And the first part of the film is people like, oh, I guess you're not going to die. Well, return the coffin, and it could
I really
loop,
liked,
in a sense. You could continuously have that exact same cycle where, oh, you're not going to die. Oh, you are going to die. Oh, you're not, just over and over again ad infinitum, if you really wanted to interpret it that way. I just think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, and part of that I liked was that the narrator is like, it's not a third party. It feels like it's from Bill's point of view. It's just him narrating himself in the third person and like his life. And I like that coffin bit where everyone thinks he's gonna die, and then he just thinks of all the ways that he just inconvenienced everyone by almost dying. Like, oh, they have to return this expensive coffin.
Yeah, that's like one of the best parts. It's so
get rid of the flowers and shit.
It's weird that
like it's such a perfect depiction of like that overthinking and kind of mental illness, if he even has mental illness.
It's weird because Wikipedia, I remember glancing at the page a few days ago, and it described it as like one of the words they used was dark comedy, and I guess the few scenes like that where there is a little bit of comedy, I guess you could say that, but even still, I don't really think this film fits under that kind of umbrella. It doesn't really fit
Overall,
under
this is like
many
one of the
umbrellas.
This is one of the most like real depressing fucking things I've seen, especially when it gets into like Bill's family and his mom and shit, and like how she like wrote like I'm so proud of you over and over so that she could have the best handwriting.
I know.
Like that was the saddest thing ever.
Gut wrenching. Like
And then he goes to see his dad, and neither of them know why they're there, but he just says, "You are forgiven," and neither of them knows why he said that, but he still said it. Like, oh my fucking god, dude.
Yeah, none of the movies we've talked about has made me tear up, except for this one.
Into the Wild made me cry a little bit once. This was literally
you were crying because you picked such a terrible movie, and you were sorry. You were sad.
That's why. I was crying because Christopher McCandless was such a little bitch and could have been so much better. Do you think if Christopher McCandless was alive today, what would he be like on Twitter?
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have a Twitter or really participate in social media. It seems like very.
I think he might go Unabomber route.
He'd be way cooler if he went Unabomber route.
I think it would be antithetical to his beliefs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shit changes.
Yeah, I think the middle segment is my favorite. The poetic nature of his like fake memories with the kid with the hooks and the people getting hit by trains and the fucking guy shitting blueberries on the porch. Like all of that is just so inspired. Yeah. Like I don't even know how else to describe it. I could never.
It's like
imagine.
Absurdist, but like. Just, I don't know.
That's the part that I think you could sell as being a black comedy.
Yeah,
it's mostly that.
It's definitely absurd. I know what you're about to say, Ryan. It's definitely not grounded in reality in any way. There's no way a kid had fucking hooks for hands.
Yeah.
I really fucking need to learn what the definition of black comedy is because you keep saying it and I don't know what that means.
Well, have you ever
My
seen?
man really still thinks it's Tyler Perry.
I was about to say. I was about to say. Have you ever seen a Medea film?
Really worried. I was really confused every single time you said black comedy about something.
Yeah, it's about laughing at black people and that's it because they're so funny. They're hilarious.
It's just fucking. Haven't you seen, like you've seen tons of movies that Fight Club is considered a black comedy. Like anything that's a comedy about like fucked up dark, shit, essentially.
Real shit. Okay. I see.
Could probably be classified as that. And yeah, I think this probably could be classified as black comedy. But then again, I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, so I have this sort of I don't know how to explain it, but I've grown in acceptance of the emotional beats, so that when something is just kind of outlandishly funny, I'm more prone to be able to break out of the emotional current of the film and laugh at it because I know how everything goes in the end. You know?
Right.
Like I really laughed at the part where with the spaceship where you have to eat ice cream sandwiches to not have strokes. And then the line about if something bad has to happen, I hope the ship doesn't crash. I just hope everyone else has strokes. like the idea that those are the two choices. If something like I don't know, I just love that. So
I mean, at least there's
I think
not
that
as much
is pretty
cleanup.
funny, but in
yeah,
the moment, it wasn't funny to me. It was just more. Nothing was funny to me.
No, I
in
get that.
moment.
I mean,
But
Well, I didn't.
retroactively, if I watched it again, I'd probably laugh at a lot of it.
It's not that I didn't find it funny, but it's more of just a way of these are just little windows into how Bill thinks about things that he sees in real life, which
they're
which is kind of
tools.
like it's almost like a Carl Pilkington-esque character where you have these musings and these ideas from observing these mundane tasks where you can look at them and laugh, but to him he isn't necessarily laughing,
mm-hmm.
or he doesn't find it
Damn.
funny, rather.
So is Carl Pilkington the story of an abused spirit exploited for comedy?
No, not. I guess not. I mean, kind of. Like the whole. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong on this, but I think the reason why the Ricky Gervais podcast became a thing was because he and Stephen Merchant met Carl Pilkington because he was. I think he was a sound engineer or something, but he worked on one of their projects, and they just became so, like, attached to his personality and the way that he thought about things that the reason why they created the podcast was to listen to him. And if you watch the animated bits, like, that intro sequence ends with Ricky and Steve looking at Carl expectantly because it's all about how Carl reacts and then how Ricky and Steve react, and then they went on to actually make like live action shit. Like there's Idiot Abroad, which is about sending Carl across different places around the globe, which is their like kind of take on a travel show. And then there's Moaning of Life, which is probably, in my opinion, better than Idiot Abroad because it's not necessarily about subjecting Carl to things that he doesn't want to do, but more about showing Carl different perspectives centered around a core idea. Like one of the first episodes is about happiness, so it's about how different people find happiness through different things. Like there's a guy who finds happiness through like physical pain, so he gets all these like piercings done and he'll hang himself from hooks and shit like that through rings pierced through his skin. And then there's the people who have this facility set up where you can pay like $10 and take a baseball bat and beat shit up in a garbage dump effectively.
Rage Cage.
And then there's the guy who's a homeless man who just lives off of other people's garbage and he's happy. He's chilling
If
out.
you thought we were going to stay on topic,
And Carl's just like, bit weird, isn't it?
if you thought we were going to stay on topic, then you're an idiot.
I mean, he's
You're
not
food.
always
So-
like that. That's what makes him kind of interesting, is that he finds the oddest things interesting and some of the most normal things interesting, but some of the more fantastical stuff he just kind of dismisses or turns into something else, which is why I liken him to Bill in a certain sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of like the only reason you guys continued the podcast was because I was on, so you could just bully me more.
Not
I mean,
really.
it's a big part of it, but I don't think it's the entire
Okay, you guys took that way.
thing. Oh, okay.
I had to subvert it by taking it seriously.
Never mind.
I mean, bullying you is really just my fallback when I don't have good content to bring to the table. And if I do, then I don't really need to bully you as much.
Well, if you do, then you're posting Nightfire LPs.
No, don't talk about that. I don't want to. That's my secret.
That's your
we can't have
secret
the
that you're
content stream
posting.
It's my secret world.
That you're posting online,
Yeah.
not unlisted
content
or not
streams
private.
cannot-
Nobody's gonna find it though.
Cannot overlap.
I mean, they probably won't know the name of your YouTube channels. That's for sure.
And it's not like I named them "Let's Play Nightfire" or anything. They'll never find it.
No, it's not like
Anyway.
it's not like you named your YouTube channel Content Trough or Pay Piggies or something like that.
Fuck you, bastard. So I like how the mental illness his mom has is he sort of rationalizes it as a version of his tumor that he has, because she has to use the cat heads because it's fish in her brain. Because he thinks he has the big fish in his brain. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because his grandma was also like, I want to throw you across the room.
Yeah.
And his
mom...
His mom
was pretty chill.
Yeah,
his mom was cool.
For the most part. I kind of liken it to the parable of the grandfather, the father, and the son, that Chinese parable, where it's just the idea of something being lessened over a period of time, but then the cycle renews again. Because the way that it goes is that the grandfather, I don't remember it entirely, but it essentially goes: the grandfather works himself up from nothing, and then the father works hard, but not as hard as the grandfather, and then the son doesn't do shit, and then the son's son has to work himself up from the bottom again. And that's kind of how I view, like, Bill's grandma, his ma, and his mental illness in a way. Because his grandma is definitely at the way far end of the scale compared to Bill. She's just like, I want to throw this kid across the room.
We don't, that is in the midst of a bunch of highly questionable facts. I mean, obviously some of it is true because it explains a lot. But the specific details you can call into question. Like, I mean, whether or not she actually used severed cat heads is probably up for debate.
No,
but
and that's definitely I'm not saying that what Bill says is concrete truth, but
yeah, right.
It is important to understand that this is Bill's perspective on the world, even if it's not true. This is the reality.
If I thought it was complete randomness with no point or consistency, I wouldn't like it. You know, like there has to be. You have to, like, when you're watching something, if you want to enjoy it or get meaning out of it, you have to sort of make ground concessions for reality.
Now you know why I told you I would never play Ocarina of Time Randomizer with randomized entrances.
Yeah.
Because that's my grounding for that.
Is that game really that good?
I mean, it's
pretty good.
It's pretty good. Some people blow it out of the water for how good or bad it is, like everything else.
Yeah. Okay. It is not a 10 out of 10 game. It's like an 8 or 7.5.
Alright.
Compared to, like, other adventure games I played, like, it's pretty good, but it's not.
Much like everything else the Zelda series has done, we owe it a lot, regardless.
Sure. Well, yeah, I know that much.
Dark Souls wouldn't be the way it is without that.
True.
It's kind of like Ava, where it's like it's very tropey, but that's just because it created the tropes. It's not like Ava in that it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But that's how it.
Like, God, it's hard to talk about this movie because you could like pull up any scene and I could go into detail about it for like
what I was going
eternity.
To do for a bit is talk about my experience with people suffering from dementia.
Oh boy.
My grandmother for like the past 3 years, she's dead now, by the way. She died last September.
Rip.
But for the past, not 3 years, essentially 2, like she was not the same person who she was. It was, she had a form of, what was it? Shit. I used to remember what it's called. I think it was Lewy bodies, which is a form of dementia, whereas Alzheimer's is another form of dementia. Alzheimer's is like a gradual decline in overall sanity. Lewy bodies is random, so one day you could be fine and remember everything, or even 1 hour you could be fine, but the next it's just gone, and suddenly everything else is different. Like she would run out of the house screaming that there's a man in her bed next to her when it was my grandpa, and she would say, "Oh, he's got a knife, he's gonna kill me," and she'd call the cops several times.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And this was off the back of, like, these incidents occurred off the back of my grandpa having the incredibly wise decision to stop giving her medication for some goddamn reason, which may or may not have attributed to her slipping more and more into madness, but
Galaxy brain.
Yeah. I mean, he's he doesn't have dementia, but I don't know about him either. He certainly shouldn't have been taking care of her for that long because she was kind of insufferable to be around. And I know, oh my God, how could you say that about your grandma? I view it as essentially the grandma that I knew, that I grew up with, she was already gone by that point. Like, we would go to her house, me and my mom, because me and my parents, before they moved down to the coast of Georgia, we were the closest ones to my grandparents compared to the rest of my family. So my mom kind of took it upon herself to start taking care of her, which good on her. But I also was taken primarily at this point for my mom's own sanity, which is fair. I don't think I could handle it, just on my own anyway. And we would sit down and we would have a conversation. She'd be like, "Oh, hey there, Soy. Hey, Grandma. Have you graduated school yet?" "Yep, been out for about a year now." "What? How come you didn't invite us?" You were there at the ceremony." And it was like that. It was that for 2 hours. Yeah. The 2 hours that we'd visit. And then my mom. And then my mom would do the dishes or whatever chores were needed. I remember one time I had to trim this dead muscadine vine that was in the backyard. Not get rid of it, just trim it, even though it was dead. It had been dead for the past 6 months. That to me was the ultimate sign of futility right there. Because it's just like taking out the muscadine would have been easier than trimming it. Because the thing was huge. It ran across the whole back garden, and granted they lived in one of those retirement neighborhoods with like pretty small front yards and backyards with like these 1 to 2 level houses. So it wasn't big in comparison to like something you'd find in the wild, but it was still big, and it took me like almost 3 hours to trim the whole thing. Yeah, and then there was the time when my grandparents and my mom went down to the beach for a vacation, and oh yeah, that's right, I forgot to mention this. A lot of what my grandma would fall back on, or what details she would fill in while she was going through this, would be details from her childhood, because she grew up in North Carolina, and that's where, like, she'd sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "Where am I? Why am I not back at home? Where is this place?" Because she would always fall back on those memories from her youth. Which makes me think that maybe that nightmare of being attacked by, she said specifically an 18-year-old man, in all instances of that waking up in the middle of the night, it was always an 18-year-old, but she might have had an instance of that happening, but I was never told of such a thing. But it was recalling some past memory. But
yeah.
Mental illness. It's a thing.
I just, like, I'm thinking, anybody that's like, "Oh, how could you say that about your grandmother?" It's like, well, what, you want me to pretend that this isn't as bad as it is? Is that what you're asking me to do? Like, to pretend that she isn't as sick? Yeah, like that's almost what they're asking you to do, is to, like, pretend for the sake of politeness or familiar relations that this isn't, like, an existentially horrific relationship devastating illness, which seems counterproductive to me, to pretend that. Yeah. But
it drags out, like, your pain, kind of.
It was called into question many times whether or not she should have been put down, because it was only a matter of time before her brain essentially just turned off, and it was just a matter of parading around a not as dead corpse.
Yeah,
but we never did. Because essentially her illness only lasted for about a little over 2 years, I think. Which, granted, it could have been way longer. So.
Yeah.
Could have always been worse. But yeah, that's why this film hits a bit of a cornerstone with me, is that Bill's experiences with similar things. I mean, it's not quite the same. I'm pretty sure he has a brain tumor, given the fact that he describes the left side of his brain, like the left side of his body going numb, which is common for people with brain tumors to not
Yeah.
feel anything on that side of their body.
Well, I think there's a lot of directions you can take this in. I mean, when I first watched it, the reason it spoke to me was purely philosophical, existential reasons. It had nothing to do with the actual material illness.
Well, yeah,
whether it be mental or physical.
I'm not saying,
and
I'm not saying that my interpretation is the only one. I'm just saying that
it's
the one that
I think
it's the one that I
think it's good because it works on like 3 levels, kind of simultaneously, and it doesn't really. They're not really competing for the spotlight or anything. They're just kind of all there.
Well, because they all kind of
coexisting.
feed into one another in a sense.
Right.
They're interconnected. Excuse me. They're all interconnected in a sense.
Yeah, because I just thought the really profound thing that I thought was like not giving a shit about existing until you're aware that you're going to die, and then all of a sudden you are like obsessed with it, which I think is probably true to some extent.
Well, it's like that thing of
there's some beauty in that.
well, it's like the I forget what it's called, but essentially when you know you're about to die, what happens is that your brain is processing so many inputs that it seems like normal time is starting to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is what at least that's what I took it in as, because that's the part in the film where, like I said, we switch to like realistic photographs, and like that's when the real people are starting to fade in and out, because he is taking in all of these things that he neither did before or he just never remembers, because I'm going to assume that he probably didn't have these symptoms as a child, or at least this existential dread as a child.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't think anyone does, really. When you're a kid, you don't think about the world that much.
I don't know,
or in that way, anyway.
That kid, Jeannie, from the 70s, probably thought about it that way. She had a fucked up childhood.
Well, if I am right about what you're talking about, then yeah.
What are the chances that you're right, though? What are the chances that you, Ryan, are correct about something?
Was it the little girl that was stuck in the basement for like all her life?
It wasn't a basement, but yeah, she was stuck in one room with the blinds closed.
She never left.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to leave. For
Yeah.
most of her life, was either in a crib that was too small for her, or in like a high chair that was also too small for her. And by the time she was able to go outside, it was like this like impossibly pale little girl who was also like bone thin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
yeah, obviously that person's gonna have a fucked up view of the world because they're a outlier. But yes, you're right.
Do you think
even
that
outliers
must
be
situation?
Considered. What were you saying?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. If you were in that situation and you got out, do you think you'd be like, "Whoa, look at all this shit out here," or would you just be like pissed that you wasted so much time in the room?
I wouldn't
probably
know,
the latter.
I wouldn't know what to think. I would have a Plato's Cave moment where if I spent the entirety of my waking memory in this dark room with no natural light and with a crib and a high chair, I wouldn't know what to think of everything, and I'd almost want to run back inside because there's just too much that I'm processing at one moment, and I'd be afraid.
Stockholm syndrome kind of thing.
It would almost, maybe.
Rapunzel.
I mean, that is kind of what most of the people in the Plato's Cave situation do. They're just like, what are you talking about, dude?
Only
Shut
the
up.
shadows
I'm trying to
real.
watch the shadows. Get out of here. I don't want to get up. What? Shut up.
Plato's child abuse.
Oh no.
I mean, he did. He was from the era of, tutoring and fucking the children.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Greece.
You think Plato fucked some kids?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
in fact, he uses the discussion of slave boys to illustrate several of his points in his writing.
I mean, yeah, that was the era of slave kids, sex slave kids.
Yeah, there's probably no exceptions to that. I mean, I don't know if the peasantry got in on it, but definitely the academics were not.
So that means Diogenes was the most morally right philosopher because he probably didn't fuck any kids because he just jerked off so much.
I mean, we don't. If he did, we don't have any records of it. So.
Yeah.
spelt it
Yeah,
out
we
on
don't
his
have
own.
the crime lab hasn't been able to analyze the centuries old cum from his JO
millennia
sessions.
old cum.
Carbon dating on his fucking semen.
Ugh.
We found sperm fossils next to Diogenes' barrel.
It would be
That'll
sick
be-
if we've actually found that.
Yeah, we make Diogenes' kid.
Oh yeah, it's like Jurassic Park, but with
I was thinking about
historical figures.
I was thinking about Clone High.
Okay, it's like
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
like
would be
the
good, too.
Iceman that they excavated his colon to bring it back to the movie that
Yeah.
we're supposed to be talking about.
Diogenes would be a great character in Clone High. I bet if they used Diogenes instead of Gandhi, that show would have gotten another season. 'Cause fucking Gandhi was the reason
Yeah.
the show got canned.
Yeah, because
Unfortunately.
they didn't like it.
Yeah, all the Gandhi followers just went to fucking the what was it, Cartoon Network or no, Adult Comedy Central. They went to Comedy Central's offices.
Adult Cartoon Comedy
and started
Central.
fucking rioting.
Remember when adult cartoons used to just mean like Family Guy and shit, and now it means Family Guy pornography on the internet? That was an interesting.
I remember when adult
Shift.
cartoons were like liquid television. Because my dad
Yeah,
used to
I
have a
mean-
weird habit of just recording whatever was on screen, and we had like one tape of some liquid television footage. One of it was like a genie who was mad at its owner for becoming so lazy for abusing its powers. Like, it got to the point where the guy was like, "Genie, can you pick my nose?" It's the
Wait, why does he get? What does he get unlimited wishes? Since when is that part of the deal?
Well, there are genies that do grant unlimited wishes in the sense
Oh
in
man,
the sense of the original mythologies of genies. They don't just have reality warping powers like they do in Aladdin. They're just super strong, super fast, and they're very capable at tasks, so they can do things at superhuman speeds. So, like in the story of Aladdin, when Aladdin asks the genie to make him a palace, he just fucking builds him a palace in less than an hour.
holy shit!
Right.
He doesn't just materialize it out of the ether.
What a fucking shitty gig, man.
Sir.
It is pretty terrible. But yeah. Did I have a friend like you? I don't remember. What were we doing here? Who are you people?
I was looking at my notes, which, by the way, this week are in
Did you take?
Naughty Bear for PS3's manual.
Just buy a
And,
fucking
Well, you're not going to
notebook.
be using that for anything else, so
No, I have to keep going with the bit.
I think it's kind of a decent bit, but they have to actually be legible this time. So
Yeah, are they
They're
not like
decently
chicken
legible.
scratch?
They're not quite chicken scratch because I actually had my light on because I felt it more appropriate than with Angel's Egg, which was like a color-wise a really dark movie. So I wanted to stay in the dark for it, but then that just meant I was writing in the dark some of the time.
If only you had a read.
yeah, that's the worst thing. I like having like very low light when I watch movies, as low as possible all the time.
Yeah, because then the focus is on the screen,
Right.
and a lot of other reasons.
I usually have at least one light in the room, otherwise my eyes will hurt.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
On
do
the
have
other
my
way,
lamp next to me.
I get like vastly irritated when there's lights on. Really, for any purpose, I only have them on when I need to have them on, and I have them off at any other time.
We're really, maybe not on purpose, but we're not talking about the movie that much because
It's
so
hard.
fucking incredible that
It's an experience. I know people say that as a bit, but really, what it means when people say that is that they're blown away by it, and I'm still blown away by it after
Well,
4 or 5 times seeing it. So it's really hard to just
It's something that you
dissect
can only,
it.
It's something that you can only fully comprehend by watching it yourself.
Yeah.
Which is code for we're not doing our jobs.
Which is probably probably not a bad choice for that reason, but I guess my real motivation was to make you guys watch it, so I'm
Yeah.
happy with that.
I think that's been most
result.
of
I
the
think that's
motivations.
motivation for most of us.
Well, yeah, it's not like anyone's listening to the pod except for my dad, so I might as well use it to spread our taste.
I want to know what your dad
missionaries of
thinks of these
culture.
movies.
What other purpose is there in this
I'd be
age
really
of
curious on your dad's take
this age
about
of
this
memes? Oh, Richard Dawkins. Still need to finish that book. When I think about it.
I have a
What, a Richard Dawkins book?
No, the what was it called? Social Gene. I don't remember what it was called. I remember looking at it, like an overview of it, a long time ago. But it's essentially where the term meme was coined.
Huh.
Because a meme is essentially the social version of a gene, whereas a gene.
So it's the Patriots.
Yeah, meme.
Well, yeah, that's
gene,
literally what they refer
scene.
to.
Right.
The next movie is Metal Gear Solid 2 full movie on YouTube.
It's just a specific upload. Yeah.
You have to check it out on YouTube. It might be taken down tomorrow.
Meme, gene, scene.
Because the point of a meme is to replicate itself, much like a gene in nature. And a meme can mutate and change.
But it's a cultural gene.
Yeah, I said it's a social gene.
Yeah.
I briefly
Do you have
mentioned
a brain
this.
tumor?
I wish.
Briefly
You
mentioned
don't
this to
wish
Sully
that.
yesterday.
You don't.
But I love when he's going through the family history, and it's like two people get hit by trains right after another, and we see both happen. And then there's the break where it's like and was set on fire, and that's the subversion. And then it's like his grandma dies by getting hit by a train, but we don't see it. It's just said, and then it cuts to the like. It's so good at humor from the unexpected.
Yeah. I think my favorite parts of the movie are when there's no narrator and it's just like the visuals on the screen with like the weird sounds, like when he's like fucking breaking down and he's got that monster face and he's like beating up that bus stop pole and there's like a bunch of fire and shit and there's no narration. It's just pure fucking like emotion and you just gotta interpret that however you want.
The main reason the narration is there is to be subverted in a sense. I mean, in the way that like some of the narration subverts up some of the other narration, but then there are points where everything else is subverting the narration.
The idea,
which is cool.
Yeah, the idea we're looking for here is called an unreliable narrator.
Well, yeah, by definition. Yeah. But it's a really great sort of deceptive device because it's like a calm-voiced, like rationally spoken narrator. Even if you know better, always gives the illusion of being somewhat objective. So it really adds to the kind of disparity when he's sort of calmly, matter-of-factly stating these absurd, impossible situations. But it's not like random. It's like they mean something. They're just not possible.
Yeah.
So it's
which is spoken by Don Hertzfeldt, by the way.
Yeah. Obviously, he did fucking everything in this movie.
No, he didn't. He didn't make
except for composing the Chopin and Strauss compositions that are.
He didn't make the leaves on the trees.
Yeah.
The unreliable narrator thing is interesting too, because in most stories, like, spoilers for House of Leaves, and shit,
the
like,
house isn't made of
it's
leaves.
not.
Ooh.
It's unreliable narrators are more used to like trick the audience at the end, and shit. Like it's just to literally just for like a subversion of like you thought I was like good and like telling you everything. And you like had a trust with the narrator, and
so it's a rational, consistent narrator, just from a different perspective than the one you expected.
Yeah, and in this, it's
usually
a
also
lot
subverted
different.
Once at the end.
Yeah, just a one-off, and that's the big moment of reveal. It's not like a perpetually flip-flopping, completely unreliable. Like
this movie is not the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Which I still haven't seen, unfortunately.
It's pretty good.
Read House of Leaves.
Probably my favorite part is I could say probably my favorite part about literally every scene in this movie. Not my favorite part. One of my favorite parts is when he's at the clinic and they're giving him the memory tests, and he's like, some of them are really easy, and then some of them looked incredibly unfamiliar, and then it's like they show pictures of chairs with their legs and MC Escher contortions, and it's like it's like we get to actually see the incomprehensible. Well, it's conceivably they would have a picture of a chair, and then it's the contorted version of the chair. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like it's for something that frequently dips into the impossible and the absurd. Everything is so meaningful
One of my
in the way that it's just sort of tendrils of insanity.
yeah.
Extending
And you only
upwards.
get like
strands.
small peaks at reality, like when he's talking about like his girlfriend like coming to meet him, or his ex-girlfriend, or I don't even remember
Ex.
at that point what it was. I think it was his ex all the time, but
And I guess I assume she broke up with him because, like, damn, that's probably hard.
yeah,
to be
and then
with.
he just didn't mention a breakup or anything. He just said, "Oh, she stopped showing up out of nowhere," and then his uncle was there, and I forgot what his uncle said.
But
He
she's,
said something
like-
I probably should have written down.
She still obviously cares about him. She's like the only person who, I don't know.
I think
She's not the only person who cares about him, but like she shows despite having broken up with him, a sincere.
it
care
feels
for
like a
well-being.
breakup that was done
Yeah.
not necessarily out of like I hate you and I never want
Right.
to see you again. It's just because you're going through a difficult time and I can't be with you all that time.
Which I mean,
the
I definitely
antithesis
couldn't
of-
fucking do that.
the antithesis of that IRL Ryan guy that I know. Fuck you, asshole. You'll never listen to this.
Wait, you mean the? Oh yeah, the guy who
The incel.
yeah
The pseudo incel. You know how there are pseudo intellectuals and there's pseudo incels?
God, that's really pathetic.
He took
Like,
the
it-
pseudo black pill.
The idea of being like an impotent lesser version of an incel, which is already like an impotent lesser version of everything, like that's whew, Jesus.
That's so
That's
fucking
rough.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Oh, real life Ryan. You're sadder than me.
The other
Which
real
is
life Ryan.
A lot, right? Saying a lot right now.
Take comfort in that. Totem pole method.
No, I
mentality.
think you're a lot better than that guy. You know what? The thing is, though, Ryan, is that I actually rank you higher than a lot of people. You probably don't realize that.
Yeah.
That's why he takes the shit out of you, is because he ranks you higher than himself. He wants to pull you down to
Yep.
his level.
I mean, I think you're a more pure soul than I am. You're less corrupted by irony and evil.
I
But
guess
soon you'll be on the same page.
Mental
because
illness.
I'm steadily
I can
feeding
step
you
into
with
that.
corruption.
I think.
I can see the world as you see it sometimes, but it's not a constant.
I mean, well, that's the thing, is that it is a constant for him. So, if you can withstand the pain,
This is getting a bit too real. Let's move on to
nah.
Uh,
Well, my favorite part.
the ending.
Well, my favorite part I want to say before we
Yeah.
get on to the ending. I really like the parts where the narrator steps out and it's other people doing the voices. In particular, when it's the doctors asking him to do
Yeah,
the
that's
memory
great.
tests, and then similar to what Dunk was referring to with the chairs being distorted, and like when they say, "Hey, can you recognize this?" and it's like a person, and there's like, it's clearly like the corner of their face, but copy pasted like several times
Mhm.
over. It's just these
Yeah.
different impossible
Yeah.
bodies that you can't recognize. It's like,
And
hey,
it's-
can you do these numbers? What do these add up to? What does this multiply to? You know what this is? What's this? Blah 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 blah.
And it's such a good payoff after the sequence where he talks about how everyone has the same face and they just have like different features, because then you're shown pictures that most of them are so fragmented that you can't tell which of those characters it is because they have so many similar features. But then when they show the ex-girlfriend, you can,
'Cause she has
because
the
of the
long
exact
hair.
same feature that he described. So it's like it's just so precise and well made, and I guess
Yeah.
blocked in a sort of abstract sense, like blocked you from sort of sequence breaking the the narrative in that sense.
Speedrunners hate this film.
They do, because there's no point where you can get up to pee or skip any part or anything. You gotta just watch
Actually,
might
the
be some
version I watched had
PUs.
this thing. It was called a seeker bar at the bottom. You could actually click to go to whatever point you could go in the game. It's honestly kind of a weird exploit. I think they should fix it.
Yeah, it's basically a credits warp.
What the
The
fuck?
record is 000 right now. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
um,
Something weird. Maybe this is just a weird autistic thing I did. But for some reason, at like a certain point, I started doing the narration of myself, my life, in my head. Like, Ryan,
You have
biting
lost
his
it.
nails as much
You have
today.
lost your fucking mind. Do I need
I
to send
probably
someone to
have.
help you? Are you like? It sounds like you've
Well,
genuinely
wait.
kind
Do
of like.
you mean during the?
I don't mean
well,
like legitimately.
Well, no. Well,
like
what? That's not what I was gonna ask. I was gonna say, do you mean were you doing this during the film, or was this after you watched it and you just started doing it?
after I watched it, like I did it a little bit. Like,
When did you watch it? Yesterday?
I watched it. No, the night before.
So yesterday?
No.
You mean the night before yesterday?
Yeah.
There you go. That's the point I was going for.
It's not like I'm doing it all the time. I just whenever I think of the movie, I like start thinking about that in my own life.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I used to do that because I was in the frame set of a movie, and I understood so little about reality that that's just how I perceived things.
Yeah, but I just did it. I don't know why I did it. Just like as a fun.
Well, what were some things you narrated? Like anything
like-
in particular, or just everything, or?
Ryan laid in bed and
Oh my
cried
God.
for 3 No,
I'm
joking. It wasn't.
I guess the
You
real
guys are
question
taking this
is.
too seriously.
Well, I guess the real question is what meaning did you extrapolate from these mundane actions that you were narrating?
Were you hoping it would be cool, like the movie? Your life would become cool.
Were you hoping that it was structured in such a way that somehow you would end up becoming immortal?
You had to
I
just
think I
initiate the main quest for it to become cool. You've just been.
I just needed something to distract me from the from the depressing reality of life.
Fair enough.
I guess I don't know.
JRPGs are my recommended way of distracting yourself from the
Yeah, well,
depressing reality of life.
I mean, I've been doing that fine, I guess.
Yeah, you've been doing a good playthrough of 10 too.
Yeah, I've noticed. I wanted to go into the ending, not like to finish the podcast, but just to talk about the ending.
Because it's awesome.
I think it's an awesome ending because it goes like it's the last because each part of the movie is named different thing. I think the first one is Everything Will Be Fine. I don't remember the second one, but the last one is It's Such a Beautiful Day.
I am so
Oh my
proud of
god,
you.
that's the title of the
Oh my
movie.
It's the title of the movie, dude. And yeah, the basically Bill just drives around until he finds just this spot with the trees, and he just lays down, and then the narrator just says, "It's such a beautiful day," and then I think it cuts to black, and then the narrator is kind of. I feel like it's kind of like the narrator is becoming the audience in a way, where it's like, "Wait, no, Bill can't die here."
It's still him because that's the survival instinct kicking in. That's the denial that everyone has about their own death. That's the sort of inevitable being unable to accept your own mortality that everyone faces because it's not possible to die with dignity.
Yeah.
Right. And then he just goes into like this whole thing of him living forever till the end of the universe.
And it's awesome. And I love the part where, because it's like he's going to live forever and he's going to find love and then lose it and then find it again. And then there's a part where like it's sort of the film kind of skips a bit and then all of a sudden the losing part just disappears from the equation. And then it's just and found for like another 30 seconds or something. And it's like he's actively editing the logical endpoint of every relationship out of the projection of the future, which is not very realistic unless you want to just be a womanizer and move from place to place as soon as you've smashed.
I mean, yeah, that factors into being immortal quite well, because if you were to become immortal, and if you existed along human society long enough, like the value of how you view each individual human, I think,
yeah,
decrease drastically, because it's like, well, they're not going to live as long as me, so they don't matter.
yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about before is that I really liked the part in the ending where it's before he actually sits down beneath the tree and before the narrator says, I'm not going to die, or no, Bill's not going to die, rather. But he's just driving in the car in the middle of the night. He has La Tête du Vide, if you're familiar with that. The Call of the Void. Which is the idea that if you've ever driven in a car or looked off the edge of a bridge and thought, I could just jump right now.
Yeah.
or like I'm at the top of a tall building and be like, I could just jump now, or see some hydrochloric acid and be like, I could just down this and end my life. That likened me to feelings like that, because I have experienced feelings like that. Also, driving in the middle of the night, because I used to, back when I was doing school when I was taking summer courses, I would have to drive back and forth between my campus, because at the time I was living at home and it was about an hour drive, and I'd have to go on these back roads to avoid like the main interstates, just because there were a whole lot of cops there. And it reminded me a lot of that, because after I'd driven on those roads for so long, it was just kind of like an impulse, and I didn't really even think about it. So I could be like half asleep and get in the car and still drive all the way back home and be like slightly passing out along the way, but still be fine. And it's very strange, because I've only experienced that with that, but mostly because I drove it every like 2 days for the past like 3 months over the summer, and even more when I had to drive back and forth between school for different reasons.
So like
just because you think that doesn't make you suicidal. It's just a weird human impulse.
Well, no, it's those instantaneous feelings.
It's like a declaration of authority, because it's like a...
You have free will, so you could just fucking do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, part of the reason 13 Reasons Why was so destructive is because it was basically like supporting the idea that killing yourself is a declaration of power, and sort of is an exercise of power over people that you don't like.
My favorite thing ever was when they had to fucking say at the beginning of, I think it was season 2 or 3, when they're just like, don't kill yourselves, kids.
Like, after literally killing dozens of people. Like, directly killing dozens of people.
Yeah, it caused a huge spike in teen suicide.
And it was like, they could have easily seen that was going to happen and not done it, because there are already guidelines that exist, but they were just like, nah, fuck it.
It's fucking incredible.
And now they're on season 4, I think.
It is incredible.
They're still exploiting teen
my
suicide.
favorite part is that the show is terrible. Like, if it was a good show, I would like be a lot more forgiving.
It's still fucking awful.
Killing people, but it's like meaningless, overproduced, fucking exploitative trash. So it's like, great.
Yeah.
I mean,
fuck 13 Reasons Why. It's actually
they added
the
a
worst
black lady in
fucking
season
show
3. It's got to be good now.
They added a black lady in the same season where they try to humanize the objectively worst character. Although I feel like everyone rapes and gets raped on that show, and they also shoot up schools, and it's a really great show. It's awesome.
Filled with
it's really just
characters.
Like, so many teen shows are just shitty UK skins. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to have us watch UK skins for one.
I watched like
Celluloid
5
Goblins episode.
like
It's very imperfect, but it's like, if you're trying to be a teen drama that like deals with really dark components of that reality and not be miserable and too saccharine, then it's kind of the only thing that's ever really
you're
had moments.
Not be This
TV
Is England
sideshow for
Never seen
television
it.
shows.
I always think of This Is England when it comes to that, because it's not necessarily a teen drama, because the main character's like 12, but it still factors into the dark realities of skinhead culture and how it was appropriated by the far right in the 70s.
Yeah.
Bazinga.
I'm pretty mad that they took punk. I mean, they didn't really successfully take it.
Nazi punks, fuck off.
It is pretty funny that they're just like, horseshoe theory, right? We can take these radical leftist vegans and just sort of take that genre of music, right? That works. Just applying centrist ideology to steal someone else's aesthetic.
Yep. But,
Such a Beautiful Day is a great movie, and everyone should watch it.
It's Such a Beautiful Day is amazing.
You would understand more why we can't talk about it very well if you actually watched it, I guess.
Yeah, please watch this movie any way you can. It's $4 to rent on Vimeo, $10 to own, I think.
Free on Kiss Cartoon.
Kiss
I didn't watch
Cartoon,
it on
hell
Kiss
yeah.
Cartoon. I got a torrent of it, which was an MKV,
I also got a torrent of it.
which kind of sucked, but...
Donardsveld is not an exception to my pro-piracy politics. No one is an exception, that's the point.
No one's an exception, but just because I think it's so good, I'm gonna make it an exception.
You shouldn't use capital as a expression of your affection.
Well, the moment you make excuses, then that's when you start down a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that; it's that you've decided to use capitalism as a system for expressing affection for
Yeah,
art.
if I
which
can
is,
find a way to specifically only give money to Don Hertzfeldt, then maybe I will.
you're still completely missing the point, but that's okay. You have time to learn.
The point was not to use capitalism.
The
period.
point was not to use money. Yes.
Yeah, because
But
art
I
should be held up on different principles than
Okay.
being financially viable.
You
in a
should give
capitalist
him
economy.
a hug or a handshake. Probably not a hug.
I
Otherwise
would
you'll
love
get a
to. If,
restraining order.
for one, we weren't in a pandemic, and for two, if that was kind of socially acceptable.
To just hug people who made great movies.
I think it should be socially acceptable.
To
not in, like,
just
a creepy
sexually
way.
harass. Yeah, it's not a creepy way for a random stranger who's like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with your movie, to come up and just physically make contact with you with no forewarning or permission. That's definitely not creepy.
Didn't you see that? What was it? Was it Alec Baldwin in that movie last year where he played the crazy fan? What was it called?
Yeah, it was like
No, John
really shitty.
Travolta.
John Travolta. That's right.
Yeah, and it
The
was really
Fanatic.
shitty. I
The
heard.
Fanatic.
Fred Durst's absolute fucking pinnacle.
That's
of
right. It
cinema.
was Fred Durst.
And I heard.
Ugh.
I mean, isn't it just Misery but worse? That's what I heard.
I wouldn't even compare it to
It's
Misery.
yeah.
I haven't read Misery, but I really want to because it's an interesting.
It's like,
Not-
if we're talking about Stephen King adaptations that are loyal to the source text, it's probably one of the best. I mean,
Yeah.
next to like Shawshank.
Well, I was gonna
guess.
read it too.
Because I really don't like Stephen King, so the fact that I kind of like that movie is high praise.
I mean, there.
Probably wouldn't
Yeah,
like
Stephen King's
Arthur
good
C.
at, like-
Clarke either, to be honest.
It's good at making like concepts.
I imagine the thing yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't.
like delivering on those concepts is what he's bad at. I think.
Because I mean, that's Kubrick's whole thing was that he was a skilled adapter of things.
Yeah.
In a way that would heavily recontextualize.
Did he
things, so
even?
it's like-
I don't think he. Unless Eyes Wide Shut. I don't think he had an.
I'm
Original.
pretty sure Eyes Wide Shut is based on something, but I'm not sure if I remember.
I think
Full Metal Jacket?
it was based on a guy's like accounts of being quote unquote abducted.
I haven't watched it yet. We need to fucking finish our Kubrick fun.
Yeah,
Is Full Metal Jacket that? Is it based on something?
probably.
Based on the Korean conflict.
Yeah. I wonder what an imagine if a fucking Kubrick made an original film and it fucking sucked.
Fear and Desire may not have been based on something,
Well, we didn't
which
watch
and that one did suck.
Let's not
Paths
forget.
of Glory.
idea.
I don't know if that one was based
I was
on
about to say it. I was about to say it, but then I stopped.
I need to watch that one too.
Doug knows what I was
We
about
shouldn't
to
have
say.
been pussies. We should have watched Paths of Glory.
Oh God.
And
Oh fuck. Oh Christ. He's right. He's right. We can't say it. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't say it. Don't think it.
the Bye Bye Man was a.
I would honestly rather watch the fucking Bye Bye Man than the movie Soy is
Really?
dancing around talking about this kid.
Really?
Yes, absolutely,
I don't-
100%. Well, because at
I
least the
don't
Bye
think-
Bye Man wasn't some lost fucking Bergman film that
That's
got
true.
like, appropriated and alienated into a piece of shit.
That's
I
true.
mean, at least it has
Yeah.
that going for it.
You can like see how it would be good, but I don't know what fucking film
Good.
he's talking about.
Good.
Don't read too hard into it because you'll come across the forbidden knowledge and this shit will be like Marble Hornet.
If you squint at a copy of Kingdom Hearts, you'll basically come up with it.
Oh no. I give this movie a 10. This is a 10 out of 10.
Soy is on a level beyond. He's on an advanced level of thinking right now. This is a very good
This gets a
content.
2 thumbs up.
The bit is so
Oh, yeah.
good that the person it was directed towards couldn't even understand it. Yeah, I'd probably rate this film like, 9.5.
It's been a
I
10 for
give
me since I
this-
first saw it, so it's gonna stay that way, I think.
I give Gears of War 3 a 5 out of 5.
That's why my final rating for this movie is a pair of
Are you IGN now?
is a pair of Lion King slippers out of 10. While it remains
Fucking pro Jared.
while
we
you
should
don't
do
know
a
where
pro
it
Jared
came
rating
from,
system.
like the pair of slippers in the movie, it remains a fuzzy, warm, emotional core, just like a pair of Lion
Oh my
King
God.
slippers.
Jesus
Now, if you'll
Christ.
excuse me, I have to go masturbate to children's photos.
Hell yeah, bro. Get him.
Have we? I mean, I think
Let's-
this lives up to the.
We need to
the title.
re-cancel Pro Jared, by the way, because the fact that he
I
is
don't-
still around is like The fact that he played his hand so well that he's still able to exist
he made a 40-minute review of Final Fantasy VI like a week ago.
Testament to his like manipulative, cold, sociopathic personality. Like
It's that nose.
he absolutely should have had his career fucking destroyed by that, but he maneuvered it so cleverly,
kept on going,
that he managed to fucking. It's disgusting.
It's the nose.
Everybody kill Pro Jared. If you're a fan of our show, please go and murder Pro Jared. We would really appreciate it.
There's a reason why long noses historically in fiction have been associated with evil. Pro Jared is no exception.
Was it such a beautiful day in the movie?
Bring it around.
Did it have a beautiful day?
I mean, it's been mostly gray outside for the most part, and it's been really windy. So. It's been
Yeah.
I think it lives up to the Celluloid Goblins rating system.
Do we have a rating system?
Yeah, don't you remember? It has to be the title of the movie.
Oh, Mari, he's dead. He doesn't get to decide.
The water ship didn't go down. There was an angel's egg. We don't know if it was an angel's egg, actually.
You can't do this bit as well as he does, because he's almost serious when he does it.
That's what.
Like there's a small part of him that like almost actually thinks that's how things work.
You guys should have bullied Mari
small.
way more because of all the stupid shit he said. Such as, has it been said in the podcast yet? The cutscene thing.
The what?
The cutscene thing is bad. Mari, oh god, what's the quote? It's like, if the cutscenes are so important, why am I allowed to skip them?
Wait,
like
wait, hold on, what?
It's a quote from Mari.
I don't think I've heard that. Did he type that, or was that in voice?
I mean, I think it was he was being ironic, but it's like you could look at him playing any game and believe it to be true.
Well, yeah, that's
because
the
that's
thing.
How
Like,
he treats every game, so it's like whatever.
That's the thing. When he was playing Deus Ex, it's like.
I'm sure the story has nothing to do with why people still talk about this game. I'm sure it's all.
Yeah, it has to do with the amazing Unreal Engine graphics.
And the fucking gun sound effects and the.
Look,
that's the reason people love it.
Those death sound effects are amazing. I'll still stand by them.
Yeah, they are good. They are good.
I'd use that as like a ringtone if it wasn't really loud.
It's such a beautiful day with Deus Ex sound effects.
Oh god!
It's just like the footsteps, and I guess that was kind of the only thing you could do. Well,
you could edit in dialogue, I guess. It's just like my parents died in a car accident, and then you have then you have the train just run over his mom.
Make It's Such a Beautiful Day out of Deus Ex and
Man,
fucking Half-Life sound effects.
Oh Jesus Christ! I kind of resent shit posts that use like amazing films as their bread and butter, but I don't know, maybe you can make it work.
I think it's fine.
Someone made like a Petscop YouTube poop, and it drove me crazy. I felt like it was the worst thing I've ever seen. By the way, 1 week I'm just gonna pick Petscop, and we're just gonna watch the entire series for the podcast.
Fuck you.
It's
Fuck
good.
You.
It's really good.
No, it's not. It's not the ending. The concept's good, but it didn't fucking end at all.
I can't believe you're not satisfied with the ending. The ending is like
I am the least satisfied with the
best conceivable way it ever could have ended, like imaginable. It gave me
nothing.
There's objectively no better
ending
to that series than the one that we got. There's no way.
Today.
Hell yeah! So is Jesus Christ. And today is Easter, and it is his birthday as well.
Falls in
Petscop
line
could have
with
been
that
so much fucking cooler, but it was so slow and gave us so little information that it just ended.
Well, now I'm definitely picking
it.
Now I'm absolutely gonna pick it.
You're provoking him at
You're
this
not
point.
picking Petscop.
You're provoking
You're not
him.
fucking picking Petscop.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if you just quit the podcast because
I'm not quitting the podcast, but I'm gonna be really fucking upset the entire episode we talk about Petscop.
That's what I want. I want that fury. You have to use
well, then
that
I guess
rage
that's what you're gonna get
to power your
wants.
commentary.
You're acting to feel like that's a bad thing, Ryan, but that's exactly what he wants.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying I'm gonna fucking hate Petscop. I
don't
care if he likes it or not.
I'm like one of the villains that's like, yes, come on, become enraged, fuel that hatred.
You're the Emperor from Star Wars.
Yeah,
Hate.
And I'm like a master
can't do a good
Jedi. I've
Am
just become
voice.
calloused to it.
We should start doing games on here. We should do,
Just don't have emotions, lol. Why?
That's not how that works.
Lol.
You just have to put it in check. Just beat Joe Lee, okay? Joe Lee's the best Jedi.
Yeah, but Jolie doesn't actually believe in that dumb bullshit.
Well, that's the point. Is it, everything in moderation. Don't be.
I'm glad you guys are stalling because
Don't be a
I'm
dick.
having trouble with my next movie.
Don't be a dick, but also, you can be a dick.
Yeah, we gotta talk about BioWare until Ryan thinks of a... Have you played Jade Empire? I sure haven't.
No, but I've read some RPG expansions for Pathfinder called Oath to Jade Empire. I wonder if it's related. It's probably a reference to China still.
I don't know enough about Pathfinder to have any input on whether or not that would be a reference. It sounds weird if it would actually be a reference, but...
I mean, well, I think it just has to reference China's love of Jade.
Yeah,
because
probably.
Oath to Jade Empire is an expansion that does a lot of, that adds in a lot of Chinese mythological stuff. Like, they add in a magic system, which is based on, the trigrams, and they even add, ornithomancy? Ornithmancy? It's the practice of divination by basically throwing bones and then analyzing the way that they fall.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. You also put them in fire and then you analyze the cracks in a kind of really cool version of palm reading.
It was foretold by gyromancy that you're going to pick the Christoph Gans Silent Hill movie. That's your next pick.
No, I wanted to go on with an animated movie just because that was kind of what we were going for this
That's
past.
not...
Oh, so you are picking
Okay.
it.
I don't know. I figured this past cycle we've been doing animated movies. Why not?
Well, yeah, but I wasn't trying to...
I know you're not trying to push me in any specific way. But I was having trouble picking which one. So I'll ask you guys, would you rather watch a Disney movie or a Studio Ghibli movie?
I have a feeling I know which ones they are, actually.
Because I wanted,
I've
been having a shitty time, so I just wanted something really simple and nice and easy to watch.
That's not the right song.
I'm gonna be unpredictable because first off, I've been playing too much Kingdom Hearts lately, as the audience may be able to figure out. But also, I feel like I might have more interesting things to say about a Disney movie, so I'm gonna go with the Disney movie.
What about you, Sway?
I'm kind of interested to talk about a Disney film because
they're my favorite in each studio.
I mean, if it's Aladdin,
I think I might know what it is. I don't think it's Aladdin.
Okay.
Well, what did you think my Ghibli movie would have been?
Your Ghibli movie? I was kind of, I was more up in the air about that one because I'm not super familiar with Ghibli's filmography. I was thinking maybe Kiki's Delivery Service, because that's a pretty light film that's easily digestible. It is light. Or My Neighbor Totoro. I don't like it as much as, because that's the big one, of course.
Those are both very light, but I don't.
Howl's Moving
Castle. I don't like them that much. That is what. Yep, there you go.
Okay, I was gonna get it eventually.
Princess Mononoke used to be my favorite, but then I watched Howl's Moving Castle, and it was so fucking beautiful.
It's pretty good. I like the turnip head scarecrow.
I like everything about it, but
that's the only part I remember.
I'm gonna go with my Disney movie, Aladdin, because it's my favorite Disney movie ever since I was a kid.
Well,
because it's the best one.
It's the best one.
Well, here's my thing. Okay, before we presumably end it off, it's my favorite Disney film that follows a structure. My favorite Disney film is Fantasia.
Okay, fair. I haven't seen
Fantasia. I was thinking of that too, but I was like, that's too...
Fantasia.
You should have picked Fantasia.
I didn't want to choose a musical thing to talk about on
the podcast. That's not a musical. Okay, first off, the word musical needs to be reserved for gay shit like Rent and Jesus Christ Superstar. Call it something cool instead of
give me an aneurysm. Do you know what the term Fantasia means? That's a musical term. It means music expressed in a free form.
Yeah, which is cool, and musicals are gay and not cool.
And I love Fantasia. I love Fantasia, but
Dunk hasn't seen it. I think that'd be more interesting.
I wouldn't have chosen it.
But it's about the expression of penises, and there's so much.
Guys. We struggle to fill an hour talking about one movie. Let's just watch both and talk about both movies.
You want to?
Don't know about that. Wait,
Right.
both Fantasia and Aladdin?
I mean, I have the free time to watch 2 movies in a week. I don't know
Yeah.
about you guys,
I mean,
but
I also have more free time now since the quarantine and I'm working from home.
Well, yeah. So, do you mean watch both the
Like a double
Moving
feature.
Castle and Aladdin, or
Mhm.
Fantasia and Aladdin?
Fantasia and Aladdin, I think, is what he's referring
Yeah.
to.
But it's my choice.
Well, it's just like
all right,
well,
or you
it's
can
his,
be a baby and we can just do Aladdin. Those are the choices.
It's
Well,
his
no,
suggestion. It's what he's putting forward. He's not saying
Yeah.
that we have to do it.
Well, yeah.
You get to be the little baby and you get to make your tantrum choice, whichever one you pick.
See,
So,
here's what
whatever.
we'll do. We'll have our episode about Aladdin, and then me and Dunk will go off to the side and have our discussion about Fantasia on the side.
Okay, fine. We'll do Fantasia and Aladdin as like a double episode, I guess.
Well, it'll be a single episode. We just won't
Yeah.
have as much time to fucking get off track and talk about bullshit. Which is,
And
I
I can
mean,
talk
like
about
the best
the
thing about
original-
our podcast.
I can-
so.
We've been alright filling our hours.
And I can talk about the original myth of Aladdin, which is kind of weird.
I don't know. I'll tell you why I like Aladdin when we watch it. But yeah,
Well, it hasn't.
it's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean the myth is like very very far removed from the Disney film.
Oh, I'm sure. As with most Disney movies.
Bam, 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 ba-da-bum. Bam, 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 bam.
I was so glad you guys mentioned Aladdin earlier. You ain't never had a friend, never had a friend.
The dumbest shit in the whole Kingdom Hearts universe is that Donald sings in the Atlantica musical. That they let him sing. Why would you do that? Why would you let him sing in it?
You need to hear his voice.
I don't know why just hearing Donald gave me a fucking stroke. Okay.
Soya's
I guess-
the most hilarious Donald voice. of all time, because
Everyone
it's
has
so-
a hilarious Donald voice because
It's-
it's so fucking hard to like actually do properly. So like any attempts are just gonna be so fucking.
Well, no, because
weird.
his is so accurate, but also he's unable to actually enunciate anything.
Same,
that
Well,
makes
'cause
sense,
the prob-
so it's just
The technique is like you have to essentially push air out of the side of your mouth, treating your cheek
Yeah.
as a second diaphragm. Yeah,
Oh, I kind of see how you do that now.
that's
No.
That'll
literally
take a lot of
what-
practice.
yeah, that's the
Um,
technique. That's how you do it. It's hard.
I don't
Well, it's
remember what
hard because the how it creates that raspy sound is because your teeth are closed together like this. So it's hard to do the S sounds like this. So it's like this.
Yeah.
You have to try and enunciate your letters really hard, which can drag
listen to him
out the
going
syllables.
quackers over there.
I'm not gonna be able to do it properly, but I remember one of my favorite random jokes from a YouTuber was just his girlfriend coming in and was like, "Hey, honey, do you want to hear my Donald Duck impression?" And he was like, "Sure." And then she just went like,
You guys like gore grind, the musical genre, gore grind?
No, but I have heard.
Usually
I've heard the moanings of Niall and Hotep before.
"What about Whore Grind?"
usually the album cover will just be like someone getting autopsied or something, and then the music will just be like.
I mean, was it Cannibal Corpse that did that album cover of their fucking lead singer hanging in their
Oh god, are we really gonna get into this? It was a Mayhem bootleg, and it was not approved by the band. The band was not that glib and tasteless about their own friends' suicide.
Yeah, I figured.
It was the fucking the label guy was trying to be like an edgy dick, and he made like a bootleg version of the album and released it.
What a fucking piece of shit! Holy crap!
And like the band still resents him to this day for fucking
As you should.
mass
yeah, what a
publicizing.
fucking
Yeah,
asshole.
absolutely. It was like because being a black metal musician doesn't fucking mean that you get to just like exploit all the people involved for.
Doug, I've heard you say black metal a few times this stream. What does that mean?
Really, you don't want to go into?
No, I was pulling a Ryan.
No, we're not gonna
Remember when he
fucking-
said, "What is black comedy mean?" I was referring to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you're right.
Come on.
Fucking.
Well, because I'm the only one who knows what black metal is on this podcast. So.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I know.
I haven't listened to enough metal, and I haven't really picked at the. I know that there
I
are
listened to
a
plenty of
lot
metal.
of like
Good.
subgenres, but I'm just not really familiarized myself with them. I know that there are a lot of differences. Like there's like
Anything with the Cookie Monster voice, I don't really like in general.
Oh my god.
Most other things I like. But...
You're
you don't like
probably referring to death metal when you say that.
You don't
but
like
it's such
Sesame
a
Street?
fucking like plebeian
Yeah, there's the.
terminology.
And then there's a. The super high pitched one. That one
like
sucks
Steven
too.
Tyler. Is that what you're trying to do?
Okay, well those now you're in different genres because the high pitched one is usually more associated
That's
with
like
black metal.
Right.
Screamo.
Because black metal usually has like at least it originally had really shitty production. It was really tinny, so it would just be like.
I mean, I'm the piece of shit here that likes Deftones, so.
I mean, I like Deftones too.
Oh, good. I figured you would. I mean, my favorite metal band is System of a Down, but they haven't fucking made an album in.
Ryan keeps praying every day that new metal will come back. He wants
I
a new
need
metal revival.
new metal too.
You're only gonna
if
have
it
new
comes back,
males,
it'll be
I'm
the
sorry.
biggest fucking
Yeah.
event in music history.
Move in, now move out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up, back up. Tell me what you gonna do now.
Blue Lives Matter, yeah.
Sonic, is that you?
There's a good Durst.
Sonic Durst.
Is Durst a Blue Lives Matter guy? I mean, I guess I wouldn't be that surprised.
No,
He is white.
I just wanted some modern 2020 like political thing to say for Fred Durst to say.
That's your 2020 political thing is Blue Lives Matter from like 2014.
But he wrapped it around with Fred
I
Durst.
don't know, just
Fred
like
Durst
something
is such
for a new metal
hot
artist to say in the
button
modern
person.
age for my bit.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Fred Durst? Me.
I sure do. I love him.
All right, so Aladdin, Fantasia,
Double feature.
double feature. The first double feature episode of Celluloid Goblins, which it probably was going to be if I had my original choice.
Probably the only like gimmick we have for this podcast is just watching more and more movies. So probably in like a few years we'll just be like, in this week's 93 movies, we're gonna watch.
We're gonna watch like every like an entire marathon.
Yeah, like all the Friday the 13th movies or some shit.
Oh,
for,
God.
like, in a week.
No, I can't do that. We're
Well,
not
yeah,
gonna fucking
mostly
watch.
because they're terrible, but
Yeah, no.
well, like most of them are terrible. But then there's Jason X, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What about Freddy versus Krueger?
That one's like
Freddy
probably-
versus Krueger?
Or whatever it was called.
Are you
That's-
serious?
that's probably one of the worst ones. Actually, that movie's really fucking shitty. It's really rough.
Yeah.
I thought it, or no, I was thinking of the Freddy Krueger, like one of the later Freddy Krueger movies. It was like in 2015 where it was like
The
a super
reboot?
meta story where they were making another Freddy Krueger movie, but the crew was like haunted by Freddy Krueger. And that's-
There's no way that's Nightmare on Elm Street. You got to be thinking of something else. There's like no way.
No,
It's-
I remember Matt talking about it on the podcast. Like
The most
on
reliable
Super
source
Best
of
Friend Cast.
information.
But there hasn't been a Nightmare on Elm Street movie since that shitty reboot in 2010 where he looked like Alien. Or looked like an alien.
Huh.
Maybe it was like a fan film. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was a real Nightmare on Elm Street film.
I don't
Hold on.
believe it.
Let
I don't
me
believe
fact
it.
check. Fact checking never has ruined any podcast.
And
Are
yeah,
you
I
trying to
was.
say that it's ruined a podcast? I don't know who would. I don't know.
And yeah, Ryan, I'll admit I was wrong about Jason versus Freddy, but at least I know when the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan.
Oh, that's
That's
New
right.
Nightmare from 1994. So you could at least get your fucking decades right if you're going to talk about that. All right.
Yeah,
so
no.
that brought it back.
I know when the bombs were dropped in Japan.
No, that Mari didn't know.
No, I know it was a Mari bit, but I
Well,
mean,
Marty played Medal of Honor Rising Sun, but he skipped the cutscenes.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's how we learned about Pearl Harbor, right? Was from Medal of Honor Rising Sun. That's how I learned about
I
it.
didn't play that
Yeah.
much Medal of Honor, so
I mean, I think my dad got the reboot for PS3. And
the
it was,
reboot
reboot
of
is
Pearl
not-
Harbor.
Very good.
it was really mid.
I mean, the whole franchise is pretty mid, but if you ever get the feeling that, like, man, I want to go back in time to 2004 and kill Nazis with an M1 Garand, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah,
You could always do
Yeah.
worse.
So, true. You can play like a Oh god.
You could play Call of Duty 1 through 3.
No, those games are fine. Honestly, those
I
are
don't.
also decent choices.
Call
Medal of Honor.
franchise
Medal of
peaked
Honor
in
is
Black Ops
better.
2.
Medal of Honor is better because Call of Duty always makes you sit around and wait with your fucking limp-dicked other guys. But Medal of Honor, it was just like, go in alone and defeat the entire Nazi army. And it was like, hell yeah, bro. I'm just going to Serious Sam the entire World War II conflict. I'll be back in a sec. Peace
Wasn't
out.
there like a
Just gonna fucking
clip of Snoop Dogg playing?
Wolfenstein 'em
I
all.
think it was Serious Sam. I don't remember. He said he was fighting aliens, but I couldn't see much of the gameplay. I played Serious Sam. I think it was Serious Sam 2 or something on an Xbox 360 demo disc.
Okay, well that wasn't Serious Sam 2 because that was released on original Xbox. It was like 2004.
I figured.
Yeah.
It was some Serious Sam game on 360. It had a
probably-
demo disc.
Either 3 or like the HD remakes or something.
It was probably an HD remake.
I think
And I just did not get it at all. I did
Yeah,
not
it's not exactly a complicated game. You shoot the aliens.
No,
and
not
then
that
you
I
don't die.
didn't understand it. It's just that I didn't get the appeal of it. I just didn't like it because the shooters I was playing at the time was like Call of Duty and Halo and shit,
Yeah.
which was.
Well, you want to talk about a shooter that I don't get? It's fucking Halo, which is just like
Really? You seem like one of the guys that.
No,
Halo.
no.
so goddamn bored when I
He
try to play. Like Jesus
not like
Christ, it's just like. I mean, at least Call of Duty has like set pieces all the time. Halo, it's just like walk across this giant map and kill a million enemies, and it's not like you can like jump around and rocket jump and arcade strafe like in Serious Sam. You can only carry 2 guns, and they're like assault rifles and shit.
I mean,
it's just like it's like the worst of everything combined.
I
into
could
one.
argue that it was like one of those things where you had to be there for it, but even I wasn't there when Halo was like the
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah,
I was kind of there
I know.
retroactively, and I played Halo Reach and Halo 4 all the way through with my cousin because he had the Xbox, and I had a good time with that.
I mean, like, I'd
But-
rather play, like, modern Call of Duty campaign. Mostly because, like, Advanced Warfare is a really underrated campaign. And Infinite Warfare is
Advanced
also a
Warfare?
really underrated campaign. Yeah, they're both underrated campaigns. They're both, like, decent games.
Wait, Advanced and what?
Infinite.
Infinite is
I-
especially underrated because that game got,
Okay.
like,
I didn't play-
ridiculously hated on.
Infinite
for
was
no
the
reason.
weirdest thing for me because I didn't hear anything about it. I watched the E3 trailer where they were in space, and then I heard nothing, which was the weirdest
Are we
thing
still
to me.
recording?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Well, we if we want to talk about Call of Duty, we can cut it off. Or we
yeah,
can
that's what
We're-
I wanted to
we're-
get
no,
that
we're-
question in while we were still talking about Call of Duty and Serious Sam.
We're cum-towning. We're just going off on our
we,
bits.
we are. Yeah.
Is it really a bit?
Shout out to
No.
Nick Mullen, Stavros, and not a shout out to have
Ryan
Adam.
just started listening to Cumtown, and he thinks it's still funny and clever to call Adam gay as a Cumtown fan. He
I
thinks
don't
that's
care
still
much
funny.
about Adam.
Yeah.
As someone who
So
hasn't
he
seen
doesn't-
it, I'm just gonna shit on it constantly.
I'm
while
gonna
not
say
understanding
something
the
about.
content.
I'm gonna say something about Nick that I don't think Nick would get. Nick is
Why
pretty based.
are we? I'm the one who likes Cumtown on the pod. That's my job,
Yeah, that's his
and I
job.
only use it. I only use it in restrained, specific situations. It's not
Yo,
a. It's not a. It's not
not-
a worship cast.
Now they're gonna fucking sue us.
No, they're not, dude.
Do they even know how?
Sure.
They don't care.
Do they even know how the logistics of that would work?
Someone made a podcast called Cumtown 2, and they didn't. They literally. Nick has literally stated he will do nothing if you steal the episodes and use them for whatever. He doesn't care.
Well, then there you go. Why does it matter?
Well, because you're stealing Dunk's bit of being the
Well, no, it's not. It's not even that. It's just lame because it's like you've listened to like 10 episodes or something, and you're like, Adam's gay, lol, and it's just like
so
you
it's
think you're
I'm not
being
a real
clever.
fan. Is
You're
that-
just
is that-
not
that what
yet
it's
because
about?
you haven't been around long enough to realize that it's not original to just be like Adam's gay, lol.
Yeah, you're
Like-
making.
I didn't say.
You're
I didn't.
making
You're
low-
projecting. I said nothing about Adam being gay. I just didn't say anything.
And
about Adam.
you haven't yet realized that Adam is secretly the best member of the podcast, which is the true, elevated, enlightened, advanced Cumtown take. Once you've heard like 100 episodes.
Remember when we were talking about "It's Such a Beautiful Day" by Don Hertzfeld?
That's what I've been fucking saying this whole time.
We were never really talking about it. We were always kind of struggling, but yes,
Yeah.
I do remember.
Everyone should still watch that. If somehow
it's
you got
good.
to the end of the pod
I think we should have half an hour at the end of every episode that like people are just not intended to listen to it, where we just talk about
Which is
bullshit.
the best part, yeah.
That's my proposal. I'm sure Soy wouldn't be a fan of that because he likes to not shitpost.
Well,
Yeah.
it just depends. If it's something that I can get behind, if it's an interesting concept to talk about, or if it's something that I'm interested in listening in, then it's fine by me. But if it's just like vapid, then I suppose I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
it's
as a
pretty
fan.
bad. Let's just cut it. We can talk about bullshit.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Let's cut the
My cat
cable.
is coughing.
Awesome. Cutting now.